glad to have everybody back in here. You guys welcome back Tony Ramey.
Thank y'all so much. Play a little song here that was one of the coveted tunes that most songwriters were always dreaming about getting a cut on an artist by the name of George Strait. Y'all remember him? I wrote for their company for about 8.5 years, almost 9 years, and I always had a song on the cut list, the short list, what I call the short list. And the weekend before George would go in to record his album, this guy by the name of Dean Dillon would come through the door and play a few songs for him, and then my tunes were always the ones that got kicked off of the short list. So I had something on the short list every year, and finally I was actually moving to a different company. I was going to sign with this company out of that was opening up an office in New York called Cherry Lane. I really like Cherry Lane because you got free tickets to go down to the Memphis recording studio down there, Sun Records, and they didn't do much else, but that was really cool, you know. I mean, they paid me well, but anyway. So on the way out, I finally got a call, and I thought that George was going to record another song of mine because I had 2 songs on hold. One that I was positive he was going to record because it was so George Strait, right up his alley, you know, rip country, you know. And the title was real hooky. It's called If You Love Long Enough, you know. It's a cool song. And then had another song, and I was like, well, he'll never record that. I don't know why I can put that on hold. And so when I got a call from his office saying, hey, so George just got through recording your song, I was like, all right, man, I think that's going to be a single, right? I just love the hook, right? Dottie was the secretary, kind of ran his company. And I said, that title is got to be a single, Dottie. It was like, If You Love Long Enough. And she's like, what title? What is that? No, he didn't cut anything called If You Love Long Enough. He cut a song that you wrote, isn't that yours, Zydeco? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I said, what's he doing cutting that song? And she said, when you feel better, Tony, I'll call you back. I realized that I was being very rude, etc. But anyway, this is the 2 that he recorded, and got a lot of airplay in Louisiana. So
yeah. Woo-hoo.
It's on his Twang album. I hear the music Big Daddy plays. Smell that gumbo coming through that old screen door. Fans are blowing, flies are buzzing, people jitterbugging on that hardwood floor. I work my finger down to the bone. I make the money, spend it on a hot breeze and Zydeco. Feed my belly, feed my hungry soul. It's Friday night and let the good time roll with hot breeze and Zydeco. Hey, hey. Say show so hot. My baby loving a deep fried golden brown leg with that long black hair. We get to cooking when we kiss, no time at all long to take me there. Down on the bayou to Cerrito, a taste so good I can't get enough of a hot breeze and Zydeco. Feed my belly, feed my hungry soul. It's Friday night to let the good time roll with hot breeze and Zydeco. Hey, hey. Say so. So hot. You can break down now. I said a hot breeze and Zydeco. Feed my belly, feed my hungry soul. It's Friday night and let the good time roll. But hot breeze and Zydeco. So that was a surprise. And then after a few more years, I kept writing songs and doing the best I could, and most of them just wind up on a little shelf collecting dust somewhere in a publishing house and get sold off to somebody else. But every now and then you'll land a few. Like I said, a blind squirrel will find an acorn after so many years. But this little tune here, I was writing this on the way back from a show in Kentucky, and a fellow by the name of Clay Walker wound up recording this, and I wasn't sure if he was going to cut it or not. He was on Curb Records at the time, or he was on RCA Records at the time, and I hadn't heard anything about it. And then I ran into his songwriter, who's from here in Texas, named Jason Green, nice guy. And I was having lunch downtown Nashville, and I ran into him, and I kind of recognized Jason. I met him a couple times before, and he said, "Tony Ramey?" And I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "I know you, right?" He said, "Jason Green, man, I write for." I said, "Oh, yeah, man, yeah, I remember we met a little while back." He said, "Man, I absolutely hate your guts." I'm like, "What'd I do this time, man?" He said, "Oh, I'm just kidding you." He said, "I've had to ride on the bus with Clay, and the only thing he'll play over and over is your song. And I'm just sick of it." So anyway, he recorded it, and then a few years down the road, after I somehow magically got him kicked off RCA's label, I ran into him. I opened for a show in Kentucky for him, and played the song, and he yelled at me to come back on his bus and talk to me. And I climbed on, and Clay had been, he'd had a little bit of whiskey. And he did tell me, it was very flattering, he said, "Tony, that is my favoriteest song I've ever sung in my whole life in Nashville." So anyway, I never did get to hear the cut on it, but he sang it for me there that day on the bus. And I was like, yeah, I think it goes something like that. But anyway, I guess I need to call him and see if he's ever going to record this one. I know he recorded it, but he couldn't cut it again after RCA. It's a little song called "Give It To Me Straight." I can guess what's on your mind tonight. You've been going round and round in circles, trying to find the words that sound right. You don't have to be so careful and so kind. I know what you're trying to say. If you don't mind, just give it to me straight, babe. Don't want no watered down goodbye. Give it to me straight, babe. 'Cause it don't taste sweeter when it's poured on ice. Don't you order up no fine wine. Don't you talk about a good time. Just tell me, get up and walk away. I like my heartaches like my whiskey, if that's okay. Just give it to me straight. Give it to me straight. No use trying to stir old memories now. 'Cause if it's over, then it's over, baby. I'll just swallow hard and get through somehow. I'm already shaking, so just buy me something strong. Help me get used to the burn now. For all the nights I'll have to drink alone. Give it to me straight, babe. Don't want no watered down goodbye. Give it to me straight, babe. 'Cause it don't taste sweeter when it's poured on ice. Don't you order up no fine wine. Don't you talk about a good time. Just get up and walk away. Like my heartaches, like my whiskey, if that's okay, just give it to me straight. Give it to me straight. I like my heartaches, like my whiskey, if that's okay, just give it to me straight. Woo! It's always nice when you hear an artist say it's their favoriteest song ever. So, anyway, you keep writing songs and hoping that they land somewhere good, and every now and then you get a cut you're real excited about. And this one here is kind of crazy because a gal by the name of Trisha Yearwood recorded this song after a hiatus that she had taken from her label, MCA, for years, probably 8 years she hadn't been in. And I co-wrote this with a gal by the name of Irene Kelly, sweetheart of a gal, and another great writer friend of mine, Clay Mills. And we got together and wrote this song for a TV show that was in pilot phase, and CAA was where Clay wrote, and CAA's a creative artist agency. As some of you might know, that they do stuff for actors and their management company and all that. Well, they had a publishing house, and so this pilot was going, and so they gave us all a copy of the TV show. It was a 2-hour pilot, but there was no music. It was just, talking and Foley, and so we had to come up with an idea. It was about a divorcee, and she was looking for a new life, and was afraid to fall in love and all that. So we got together and wrote the song, and everybody at the TV show loved it. All the producers said, "Oh, we love this song," and we just did a little piano vocal of it. And then there's this, this little known artist that came along at the last minute. What's their name? Sarah McLaughlin? McLaughlin, yeah.
Yeah.
Those artists, Yeah. Anyway, so they picked her song, and this one was kind of by the wayside. I'm like, oh, man. Well, about a year later, Irene was at a little festival in Nashville, and she ran into Trisha Yearwood, who hadn't, like I said, had done a record for 8 years. And she said, Trisha, and they were old label mates way back in the day, because Irene was kind of a bluegrassy country gal, and she handed her a CD and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know what I've been doing, and here's a song, And so Trisha called her that next morning and said, "You've inspired me to go back into the studio. I want to cut another album, and I want this song to be on it. Would you mind?" And she said, "Well, certainly not, right?" So anyway, she goes in and records this tune with Mark Bry, one of those big producers over there. They spend like $30,000. They bring the whole orchestra in, all this stuff. And then after about, 2 months, the word comes down that they fired the producer. They couldn't get along, and so that was scrapped. And I was like, wow, I'm just really good at this. I'm consistent. And then after about 6 months, I heard the rumor that she had found another producer, Mark Wright, who was heading up the label. And I was like, well, they probably won't record that again. I mean, that was 40 or 50 grand. And lo and behold, she went in. That was the first thing she cut. So she was determined, to record this song. And so they did. It was a big release, and it's a record called Inside Out. Don Henley was all over it doing backgrounds with her. It was a pretty cool record to be on. But Trisha was just an awesome person, man. She brought everybody down to the studio where she recorded it, and she loves to cook, right? So she cooked for everybody in the studio. It's called the kitchen. The studio is. It's got a big kitchen. All the songwriters came in, and she used to make a living singing demos for songwriters, and songwriters would pay her to sing songs before she got her record deal and all that. So she sat us all down and played the whole record and said, I want it, first and foremost, before it's released, I want to make all you songwriters proud. and I hope that I've done justice to the song. And she gave everybody a hug after it was all over, and we ate spaghetti, and
Cool.
it was pretty cool, right? I thought, wow, what a nice thing that an artist is that humble and also that sweet to the writers. And most of them are like, yeah, whatever, who was that? You know? But Tricia was not like that, right? So the song came out Inside Out, and it was one of my favorite tunes, and it was released in a movie that absolutely flopped not too long ago, so I won't even talk about it. So, but the song goes, what do you do when love comes along and offers your heart a chance to move on with no guarantee, no safety net? Trust what you feel. You take that first step. Just close your eyes. Reach for the moment before it slips by. Here is your second chance. Take it and fly. Weight of the world, the need to survive, made you believe you got no right. Out of the blue, you meet someone who offers a place warm as the sun. Just close your eyes and reach for the moment before it slips by. Here is your second chance. Take it and fly. Just when you think love is a distant dream, oh, fate gives you wings. Just close your eyes and reach for the moment before it slips by. Here is your second chance. Take it and fly. Woo! So, little second chance. And then right after that was going on, there were lots of people coming out and cutting records and releasing the radio, and there was a popular term floating around town at the time, and it was called, the term was bro country, right? And so, yeah. And I remember, it was so funny because I remember I was a demo singer for a while in Nashville, and I would pass, Tim Bupper, and it was me and Tim, and there was another guy that won the Nashville Star, the very first Nashville Star. We were haunting a lot of the studios, singing demos for other writers, and Chris Stapleton. And then we would pass halls, and I would say hey to Chris, and I would say, man, can you figure out what's going on? And he said, yeah, I'm getting all kinds of songs recorded. I was like, well, man, good for you, because I just don't understand that stuff, right? And so some writers just had an uncanny ability to be able to kind of shift and, roll. And I just didn't have that. So I remember going into a writer session, Sony Records had called Eddie, my publisher at the time, and he gave me a call and said, man, I know you don't write here anymore, but if you want to, there's this artist over at Sony that's, getting ready to cut a record, so I thought maybe you'd looking for a really good writer, and so I want you to go there and maybe get a song on a record. And I was like, well, Eddie, I appreciate it, but like, how old is he? It's like, well, he's like 20, he's young, but you know, he's got the fire under him and all that. And so I called a friend of mine, Roger Springer. He's a really good writer. So I said, man, can you come over there with me so, you know, nothing bad happens, you know. So I don't want to carry this thing too far, you know. So we go in there, and so this kid, super talented kid, right? But he just hit this button on his keyboard, right, and it had this beats, you know, this like, and he just started stringing all these words together like so fast I couldn't even hear him, you know, because I'm like, so I said, okay, just hold on just a second, because he was stringing these words together and recording them, you know, and I didn't even know what he was talking about because I'm real slow like that, you know. And so I told him, I said, man, just 1 second. I said, man, can you tell me what this song is about? Because if I knew that, I may be able to help you a little bit, but you know, I write country music, so I don't put that many words like in a whole essay, let alone, you know, just a couple of lines, you know. And he's like, oh man, I'm just feeling it, you know. So I sat there for about 15 minutes. I tried my best, and I didn't want to hold up the train, right? And so I told Roger and them, and Roger was kind of just going with the flow, you know. He didn't care. And I said, man, if I stay in here much longer, I'm going to just ruin whatever it is you're doing. So I'm just going to, if it's cool, I could go fishing this afternoon. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, man, you know. And anyway, he went on to have a big hit record. And so yeah, I'm sure, because, you know, I left the room. So, so anyway, that's kind of what got me thinking about New Rising, because I was still getting songs recorded by a bunch of Texas artists down here, right? And what's crazy is I was getting the calls from people like old Johnny Lee, you know, remember Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places, you know. He just called me out of the blue once, wanted to record some of my songs, and I remember the message. It said, Tony Ramey, this is Johnny Lee. Call me back. You know, and that was it. I'm like, how did he get my number, first of all, right? Anyway, so he recorded a bunch of songs, and then I guess the one that really broke the camel's back there was in a writing session with Roger Springer. We decided to write a country song one day, just us two. And he was writing at this little company called Olay, and the guy that was sitting up front at the front desk was from like New England somewhere. And he was a younger kid, you know, and so we played this song for him, and he sat and listened to it, and he kind of nodded his head. And so after it was over, he asked us if we were sure the lyric was correct, you know. I looked at Roger and I said, well,
you wrote it.
I think it is, but, you know, there's lots of weird stuff going on these days, you know. But anyway, the song was called Never Been to Texas. And I'll tell you what he said after I play the song for you. Let's see if that's... cut by several Texas artists around. Seen a man on the TV. He was out in California, talking about where we came from. He said the reason we're all here is purely accidental. The evidence all points to evolution. Well, I took a drink of coffee, stepped out on my front porch. I looked up at the sky and out at my old horse, and I thought, well, he ain't never seen a sunset out west, a cactus or a paintbrush bloom in the springtime. He ain't never seen a coyote crying, a young colt that gone running in the sunshine. Well, sometimes we overthink it, but I've thought a lot about it, and the only thing that makes any sense is if you don't believe in God, but you Wish all those non-believers would cross that old red river, 'cause it would open up their eyes. When you wake up every morning and you're looking out at heaven, Lord, it ain't hard to recognize. If there's anybody out there still trying to figure out exactly where we came from, what life is all about, well, I'd say he ain't never seen a sunset out west, a cactus or a paintbrush bloom in the springtime. He ain't never seen a coyote a crying, a young colt take off running in the sunshine. Well, sometimes we overthink it, and I've thought a lot about it, and the only thing that makes any sense is if you don't believe in God, well, you ain't never been to Texas. Yeah, and if you don't believe in God, well, you ain't never been to Texas. Thank y'all. So he said, I just don't understand what a paintbrush has got to do with a cactus.
Oh, God.
So Roger and I looked at each other for a couple
You ain't been to
seconds,
Texas, have you?
and almost in unison we went, it's a flower. And he went, oh, okay, yeah, that's great, man. So I looked at Roger and I said, man, we got to get the hell out of here. So anyway, we had a bunch of success with that tune. Johnny Lean recorded it. There was an artist, Jason Meadows from Oklahoma, recorded it and made it a big hit down here in Texas, the regional reports. And so I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And the song that I thought George Strait was going to cut when he cut Zydeco, Easton Corbin had recorded on his record, and Easton was a really good country singer, and I was on my way to Texas, and I was thinking, well, that's a pretty good note to leave on. I got a little Easton Corbin cut, and of course, right before the record came out, I'd gone over and actually listened to the cut. He sounded really good on it. Yeah, I hadn't quite finished the vocal yet, but Carson Chamberlain, his producer, assured me it was going to be a big hit, and so I went down to Texas and moved, and sitting down there on the couch, fiddling around the guitar, thinking, okay, nice. Now I can get my boat and go fishing. And anyway, right before the album came out, about 2 weeks before, Roger called me up, and Roger really loves to rub things in. He says, man, I've got good news and bad news about Easton Corbin. And I was like, well, okay, well, what's the bad news then? Just give me that. He said, well, a song didn't wind up on the record, man. And I'm like, oh my, what do you mean it didn't wind up? I heard the cut, it was great. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I said, well, what could possibly be the good news? And he said, well, I got two on there. So I was right close to giving up on it all. I thought, boy, if you can't get a country song recorded anymore, what's one we're going to do, And then if I'd have been smart, I'd have just maybe started selling insurance or doing something else. But it was not to be. So I sat there for a few months, and there's that little voice going, man, you got to keep going. You can't just, you're in Texas. There are people down here like music, Get out there, get to work. I'm like, oh, man, I don't even know if it's working. It's worth it. Is it worth it? And this song came to my brain almost suddenly one night, and it was a title track to a record that did pretty good for me on Smith Music Group. And it's about persistence. working in the hot sun. Beads of sweat on my brow from the dusty roads and hay fields and Daddy's rich plow. I remember feeling so young, turning the radio up, a diehard fan of Jack and Diane Chevy trucks. Well, it didn't take long to figure it out just to where I stand. Somewhere between the left and the right, and just don't give a damn. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James dead. Well, I'm a hugging that line, if you know what I mean. Believing the love of John 3:16. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James dead. Living by the good book, raised by the letters in red, freewheeling fresh off the farm and corn-fed. People say I'm old school, I got no more stake in this game. I've been left behind by the changing times, 'cause I won't change. Well, if they don't like the way I think, well, it's fine by me. They can talk that talk while I walk the walk and be who I'm gonna be. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James did. Well, I'm a hugging that line, if you know what I mean. Believing the love of John 3:16. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James Day. It's a hard road, oh, I know, but you only get one shot. You keep rolling on and holding on, and you give it all you got. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James Dean. Keep a hugging that line, if you know what I mean. Believe in the love of John 3:16. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James Day. The spirit of Hank and the heart of James Day. Thank you so much. And then as I was roaming around down here trying to get shows together, calling Randy on the phone, going, "Man, could you give me a place to play just one?" I started getting these phone calls from different people up in Nashville, and it was pretty cool because I didn't expect them. And one of them was from an old producer way back when, by the name of Harold Chedd, and he had attended a little Alabama Hall of Fame function, where they admitted the group Alabama into the Alabama Music Hall of Fame down there. And y'all remember Alabama, right? I mean, I grew up. I remember driving to school going, drinking what's forbidden in my Christian country home. I mean, I was like a huge Alabama fan. So when he called and said, "Tony, this is Harold Chedd. How you doing today?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty good, Harold. How you doing?" And I'd crossed paths with Harold a couple times. He said, "Man, I tell you what, Eddie played me a song of yours called That's How I Was Raised, and I'd like to play it for Randy, if you don't mind, Randy Owen." And I said, "Hold on, man, let me check with my people." "Yes, that's a good, you can do that." He said, "I think Randy will just love it, man." And this song was on a my Places album back in 2004. This is many years later, and Harold asked, he said, he said, I can't believe no one's recorded this song, you know. And I said, well, I mean, thinking to myself, should I tell him or should I not? And I said, well, I mean, it's been recorded before, Harold. I don't want to lie to you. He goes, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I love it. Well, who recorded it? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I should tell him. I said, well, I mean, I did, you know. And he goes, oh, yeah, I love that cut, Tony. And he was just being super nice. Harold was a sweetheart of a guy. But anyway, they went in and recorded this, and it was recorded live on the Ryman stage. They did a debut of that record on the Ryman stage, the Grand Ole Opry one night, and that was the first one they sang off of the new album. There were only 2 original cuts, and this was one of them, so I was super excited about it, and the crowd went wild afterwards when they sang it, but they didn't say anything about me. But I don't care. So if you want to listen to a copy, it's out there. Here's my version of the Places album. You give more than you take, give more than you break. That's how I raised. You look 'em in the eye, shake a hand tight, and Jesus says, that's how I'd raise. And I've walked the line a time or two, I've run through fire and I made it through, and sometimes that's just what it takes. And I've read the Bible, I've cursed a man, I've done the worst and the best I can, but I still get up when I fall from grace, 'cause that's how I'd raise. That's how I'd raise. The old rugged cross, college basketball is how I'd raise. Working in the fields, a prayer before the meal, for heaven's sake. That's how I'd raise. And I've walked the line a time or two, I've run through fire and I made it through, and sometimes that's just what it takes. And I've read the Bible, I've cursed a man, I've done the worst and the best I can, but I still get up when I fall from grace. That's how I raise. We're only human when it comes right down to who we are. Yeah, and it's a constant battle, but all that really matters is what's deep down in your heart. And I walked the line a time or two, I've run through fire and I made it through, and sometimes that's just what it takes. And I've read the Bible, I've cursed a man, I've done the worst and the best I can, but I still get up when I fall from grace, 'cause that's how I raise. That's how I raise. You give more than you take, bend more than you break. That's how I was raised. Woo! Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all very much. So, well,
Come on. You know
Well.
what we're waiting for. You know it.
so I haven't played this in a little while.
Uh-huh.
So while I was down here in Texas, I ran into a feller at a racetrack for all places, you know, and I was doing some music. I'd written a song for the Ennis drag race track down there for Ford. And anyway, we had a little booth down there, and this guy comes up. He's like, "Man, I really dig your music," and he was a real clean-cut kind of guy. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'd love to come over. Why don't you come over to the hotel? I'm here. I'm out from West Texas. Come over. I'll buy you a beer. And I want you to meet my girlfriend because, man, she loves country music." So I go over there, and why not, man? I got nothing else to do but after the races are over. So I go over there, and he's like, "My girlfriend's coming down just a minute, man. Let me get you a beer." And she's coming down, and so his girlfriend comes out, and I don't think anything of it, of course. But he was kind of dressed like an accountant, and she was not. Okay, so she looked a little different, you know. She looked like well, I won't tell you what she looked like because the song actually. But here's what happened. This is where the song came from. She was super sweet. We sat there and talked a long time, and she's like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm excited about hearing your music and blah blah blah." And we had a great conversation. And then after a couple of hours, and she's like, "Oh, I'm really tired. I'm gonna go back to the room. You boys have fun, you know, and everything." She leaves, and I'm like, "Well, man, she's really cool, you know. Y'all, glad y'all are. How long y'all been together?" He goes, "Man, I know what you're thinking." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I know we don't exactly go together, man. I mean, she's a little bit rough around the edges." So he said, "Man, I just lost my best friend over here about 2 months ago," and he proceeds to tell me this story, not knowing that you should never tell a songwriter a story like what she told me or he told me, right? So this is where this came from, and it has been a little while. So y'all might have to help me out with this. So there we go. Well, okay. Well, we were now this takes our audience participation, just so y'all know there's a place where y'all have to chime in. You're right. So that's exactly that's right. So that's good. We still remember. Well, we were the best of friends through thick and thin. More than just a few beers and tears. We'd been overseas, hell, he took a bullet for me, and it'd been that way for years. It was all for one, one for all, us against the world in a fight. He fell in love and push come to shove, and I drew the line last night.
Why?
All right. 'Cause he's got a big mouth, white trash girlfriend. She talks like a sailor too. Yeah, she says words I ain't never heard. She got a barbed wire band tattoo. And if that ain't enough, she thinks she's hot stuff, 'cause she don't spit when she chews. He's got a big mouth, white trash girlfriend I ain't ever gonna get used to. All right, that's all true now. Well, she walked in, I knew right then. In her Camel cigarettes and toe. Those cut-off jeans said truck stop queen. She said, I'm hammering as a low-class hoe. Then she ordered up a glass, and then she threw it on back, and then she kissed my girl on the lips. They were pulling hair extensions everywhere, and everybody got pissed. Well, I'll tell you why. 'Cause he's got a big mouth, white trash girlfriend. She talks talks like a sailor too. Yeah, she says words I ain't never heard. Got a barbed wire band tattoo. And if that ain't enough, she thinks she's hot stuff. She don't spit when she chews. She's got a big mouth, white trash girlfriend. I said a big mouth, white trash girlfriend. I mean a big mouth, white trash, nasty arse girlfriend. I ain't ever gonna get used to. Now, the irony of all this is I have never recorded that song. But Randy has, right? Randy, you haven't.
Just did.
Yeah. Except for here and whoever else has got it on iPhone or somewhere here. And,
You didn't think that they would pick Hot Grease and Cytochrome to record it. So maybe you need
Well,
to farm that song out.
I think my greatest fear is if I release this, like legit, this will be the biggest thing. I'll die. Writer of White Trash Girlfriend on the tombstone. Like all of the songs that I read, I'm trying to change people's lives. And, hey man, that's the White Trash Girlfriend dude right there. Like, okay, well, I mean, you know. So anyway, that has brought a lot of joy to many peoples across the state of Texas and other places. So I'm very happy we wrote it, all right, in some ways. So on the flip side of that, of course, I've had a few songs recorded, and when I moved down here, some really weird, cool stuff, you know. And the next one phone call I got was a call from a friend of mine who was a songwriter on this tune, a fellow by the name of Colin Ray. Was going to do a duet album, and he was doing one of the tunes with Miranda Lambert, and he and Miranda put this song out not long after I moved here, about 2015, a song called Scars. And this has made a lot of people joyful in a different sort of way. So we'll see if I can remember. Some are deep, some are not. Some never hurt at all. Some hurt a lot. Some are there. From our mistakes are all that's left to show for the choices that we made. Even the ones too small to notice are there to remind us who we are. And I believe that if the world could look inside us, they just might see blemish on our hearts from these scars. I've got mine, and you got yours, and we've lived enough to know not to hide them anymore, 'cause we've had time, and time can heal. If it can change the way we look, it can change the way we feel. And I understand as well as you do, sometimes a touch can go too far. And love was never meant to be that easy, and they don't just disappear in the dark. These scars, and the pain that I remember is the pain that makes me stronger. I've had to look at life that way, and I've learned to rise above it, to keep from going under. Take it step by step, day by day. I'm not ashamed of what you see, 'cause every single scar has become a part of me, and all I know is here and now. Yesterday's gone, and we made it through somehow. Looking back, I'm glad I took my chances. They were worth at least enough to leave a mark. And maybe we don't know where we're going, but it's enough for me to know where we'll start with these scars. These scars. Oh man. Thank you so much. And then probably the icing on the cake for me is probably 2016, I guess, 15 or 16. I got this call out of the blue from an admin gal up in Nashville, and she said, this was around the time that, y'all might remember this because he was doing a lot of shows here in Texas. Mr. Ray Price was doing his final farewell tour, I guess, and I had heard rumors he was working on a record, a new album, and I wasn't sure, if he was going to get it done or not because he'd been sick for a while. And I got a call from the admin girl, and she said, hey, Tony, can you send me a lyric of one of your songs, like, real quick, because Ray wants to cut it in the next 2 weeks, and he might not have enough time to get it done, so he needs a lyric. And I'm like, well, absolutely, if I don't have it, I'll type it out. What's the name of the song? And she said, it's a song you wrote a long time ago called When There's No More Songs to Sing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I almost passed out there. I got chill bumps, chill bump moment. So anyway, the album was called the Final Sessions album, Beauty Is, and he dedicated this tune that I had written with Roger Springer to Janie, his wife, before he passed on. And so you might still be able to find copies of this in the Cracker Barrel. I was like, I've got a song in Cracker Barrel. I walked in one day, we were going to have some breakfast with my wife. I'm like, okay, come here, honey, let me show you something. Now I'm famous.
Did you buy it?
I did. Are you kidding me? The Cracker Barrel was great, man. They paid you up front, like they paid all the writers up front. So I go support Cracker Barrel with grits and as much as I can. That's right. So anyway, the song goes, when there's no more songs to sing, no music left in these old strings, when there's no more words to rhyme, honey, there'll be time to fall in love again, to hold the hand of my best friend, walking in the rain, whispering your name again. The world won't turn so fast, make the moments last the way we always wanted to. Honey, me and you will do everything when there's no more songs to sing. You've always been right there, the answer to my every prayer, the laughter and the tears. Just think of all the years we'll share. The world won't turn so fast, the moments last the way we always wanted to. Honey, me and you will do everything. When there's no more songs to sing, honey, we'll do everything. When there's no more songs to sing. Woo! Yeah, that was pretty cool. And we did a few tribute shows to Ray that I got to be a part of. It was really a cool thing. That'll be in the memoirs soon, by the way. There's a little tune another tune that some of you might know well, that Johnny Lee recorded and I put out myself and a couple other artists. And this oftentimes makes Texans take their guns out of their holsters and shoot in the air. Please refrain from doing that here. So, there's a lot of expensive equipment Randy's got here. I got a 30-06 that was handed down from my granddad's granddad, and a 12-gauge pump when I was 14. That's the best gun I ever had. Well, they're more than just metal and wood to me. They're the story of who I am. And I'd never want to hurt a living soul, Lord, but sometimes you gotta take a stand. So if you're coming for my guns, come and get them, son. Go on and take them if you think you can. I'll be waiting at the door and watching for you when you step foot on my land. You had to pry me out of my cold dead hands, roll me away in your hurt. If you're coming for my guns, come and get them, son. I'll give them to you bullets first. I'm a seventh generation of a pioneer son who died for a rebel cause, for the right and the means to defend ourselves when the fight for freedom calls. I might be a redneck from out in the sticks, Lord, but mama didn't raise no fool. It's the crook that pulls that trigger, big brother. I ain't a buying your bull. So if you're coming for my guns, come and get them, son. Go on and take them if you think you can. I'll be waiting at the door and watching for you when you step foot on my land. You'll have to pry me out of my cold dead hands, roll me away in your hurt. When you're coming for my guns, come and get them, son. I'll give them to you bullets first. To South Alabama, all across the Lone Star State, the last thing you're gonna hear is a crack of thunder when you get what you come to take. So if you're coming for our guns, come and get them, son. Go on and take them if you think you can. We'll be waiting at the door and watching for you when you step foot on our land. You'll have to pry them out of our cold dead hands, roll us all away in your hurt. If you're coming for our guns, come and get them, son. We'll give them to you bullets first. If you're coming for our guns, come and get them, son. But you're gonna get the bullets first. Oh, Lord. We'll do a couple more anyway. So this is probably just when you think, just when you think having a record in Cracker Barrel is as good as it can get, So I dreamed a song one night, and I woke up and wrote it down. And it's kind of a weird thing because I've never written a song like that from a dream. And I was writing it down line by line, and I wasn't sure where the story was going, but it wound up being like an epic Western tale. So Connie Nelson was a friend of mine at the time, Willie's ex-wife. And I thought, sounds like something Willie might do, maybe I should just see if Connie might see what she thinks about it, And so I texted her and I said, hey, I know you probably get this all the time, right? But anyway, I just wanted to send this along, and it's perfectly fine if you just say, Tony, please don't ever do this again. Don't bother me. I said, it's perfectly fine. I just thought maybe it'd be cool for, sounds like something that Willie would do. And so I texted it to her, and I didn't think to hear anything else from it. I was just like, maybe she'll listen to it, maybe she won't. And she texted me back like 10 minutes later and said, I think this would be great for Willie! Exclamation mark. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Well, good. So she called and said, now, I'm going to wait till the time is right to send this to his email, because I said, well, okay, I mean, you don't even have to send it. I just wanted to go, oh, no, he needs to hear it, right? And she said, I don't want him to get it when, I think his wife doesn't really like me that much, so I don't want her to delete it, right? So I said, well, no worries, whenever. So anyway, she sends it along, and then, of course, a few weeks later, Tony, this is Willie, and what are you going to do with that song, with the Bible song? I was like, well, whatever you want to do with it. So he asked if I could, if maybe it would be okay if he would sing a verse with me on it, whatever I was putting out. And I was like, okay, hold on, once again, Willie, I got to get with my people. Yes, they said, absolutely, that would be awesome. And the year dragged on. What was crazy about that is I thought maybe, stuff like that. And of course, Willie's, getting up there at the time, and I thought, well, maybe he'll remember it, maybe he won't, but it's cool that he wanted to do it, and so all that. And lo and behold, like 7 months later, I'd already forgotten about it, and I got a call from Buddy Cannon, and Buddy produces his stuff down in Patternallis, outside of Austin, when he gets ready to go in and do the vocals. And Buddy said, hey man, it's Buddy. He said, man, Willie really loves that song, that he wants to record it, and I was going to see if you could get me the tracks. And I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. What are you all recording? He said, he's going to go in New Year's Eve. I'm like, New Year's Eve? I said, are you sure you're booked? He goes, yeah, it's when he wants to sing it, man, So I had a gig down in Zapata, Texas. It was a private gig, a New Year's Eve gig. And so I thought, man, I don't want to just send it to him in some computer file. Who knows what's going to happen, right? So I put it on a DVD, and I dropped it off. And I do remember realizing at that moment when I walked up to the sliding glass door of the studio, somehow it all came rushing back to me. Saturday morning cartoons. I used to watch Scooby-Doo, and the Mystery Machine would pull up, and when the door opened, it would just billow with smoke. And I realize now what that was, the Shaggy and Scooby, and why they were so hungry all the time. Sandwich, right? Well, anyway, the door slid open, and it was like, woo! So I thought to myself, this is either going to sound really good or really bad. Well, it turned out it was just like hauntingly good. His vocal on it was just sort of magical, right? So we'll try to channel Willie here tonight if we can in this epic western that I dreamed one night. I know my mind is a very strange place. Y'all don't want to be in there. Oh, man. In a dusty, dry southwestern town, hazy crimson sun goes down on the hotel above the Royal Flush Saloon, where a pilgrim lay his weary head on a pillow in a lonely bed, while the lantern's light throws shadows round the road. And he contemplates how far he's had to come, all the battles he has lost and he has won. With the Bible, the bottle, and the gun. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. On the nightstand those reminders set, so his heart and mind they don't forget what brought him far from the place where he was born. Once a preacher of a prairie town, till bandits ran his wagon down, and his pretty wife died crying in his arms. Now he weighs out all the things he has done, how they couldn't bring her back for his unborn son. The Bible, the bottle, or the gun. The Bible, the bottle, or the gun. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. One helps him hold on, and one just makes him numb. One's been stealing vengeance from the Lord one by one. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. So here's where Willie comes in. We'll do the best we can here. Now killer lies in a shallow grave, just outside a town a ways, the last to meet the preacher's deadly aim, who now with slowing breath and heavy eyes is reaching for the thing tonight. He knows he'll finally end his earthly pain. This time he pulls the trigger and it's done. Hell or heaven, he'll take either one, just to lay all his burdens down. He's carried on the run. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. The Bible, the bottle, and the gun. Dusty, dry southwestern town, a hazy crimson sun goes down on the hotel above the Royal Flush Saloon. A little story song there. All right, thank y'all. So I'll bring you up to the moment and end it out with this here pretty new song. Took a trip up to Oregon last year and took in the beauty, you know, and the temperature was really nice. They had some of Willie's special up there too. I'm not saying I took any of that in. I'm just saying. So anyway, and I got this idea that I hadn't been on a trip like that in a long, long time because I've been so busy. You know, you just kind of get your head down. You're working, and then finally, your lovely wife says, "Okay, would you like the doghouse again? We really need to take a trip, you know." So I said, "Okay, yeah, we need to do it." And so we got on a plane. Of course, I don't remember any of that because I was completely smashed. I don't fly well. And so, anyway, but when we landed, it was really kind of refreshing. You know, we drove over to Cannon Beach, and beautiful over there. The sun was just marvelous, right? And we took is it Route 2 all the way down the coast there? What's the name of that? Is that Route 2? So we went all the way down to Bandon, Oregon, and stayed there for a few days, and walked on the beach, and I was like, wow, this is like, I forgot what life was like, you know. So that's kind of what inspired this tune here, and I realized, you know, we should probably slow down every so often just to kind of take in what we can take in while we're still here. And that's kind of where it came from. So let me see if I can muster this here. This is called For the World Ends. I want to cruise across the ocean through whatever wind is blowing. Feel the salt air fresh against my face. See the trees in California. Or just walk the beach in Barcelona. Get away from all this high-speed human race. And go anywhere where no one else has been. For the world ends. I want to get to spend it the way the Lord intended. Fill my days laughing with my friends. Just soaking in the moment. Loving on my woman. Not worrying about what's coming around the bend. Maybe smoke a little, feel good now and then. Before the world ends. Some say we're whirling on a ball through empty space, and the laws and rules of chaos somehow keep it all in place. Well, believe it if you want to, but if you want my 2 cents, it's winding down for the good Lord's main event. I want to ride out on a Harley, take a hike in northern country, taste the cold Montana snowfall on my tongue. Rock out on the front porch with a worn-out squeaking screen door. Look out at that sinking Sunday sun, and know that my short time here was well spent before the world ends. before the world ends. I wanna cruise across the ocean, whatever wind is blowing, feel the salt air fresh against my face. Y'all take a trip before the world ends, right? Anyway, hey, Randy and Helen, can you all give Randy and Helen a great big hand again? Randy, happy birthday. What an honor and a special privilege it is to have gotten to spend this birthday with you today, man. You could have chosen many, many other better artists than me. So he comes with me and sends me down, and I really do appreciate it. Well, it's been a special night, and wow, what a great crowd, and thank you all so much for coming out. It's been a very special evening, and hopefully it's been special for you too, Randy, right? So, good. So thank you all so much, and if you all will hit up my website, if you Google Tony Ramey, there's some of the things you don't want to believe, but there are other things that lead you to a website, right? I'm just kidding. There should be everything. It should be fine, right? But anyway, if you go to the website and put your email in, and I would love to let you know when the memoir is coming out. And I've got some shows that are, especially I'm going to set up, especially for next year, to tour for the memoir and book out some listening rooms and some theaters and stuff. And I'd love for you all to be a part of it. It's going to be cool. And then whenever Randy and Helen call me again, you can bet I'll be back, right? So whatever you want me to. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.